The United Nations General Assembly designated January 27th as International Holocaust Remembrance Day because it was on January 27, 1945, that Auschwitz-Birkenau, the largest Nazi concentration and death camp, was liberated by the Red Army. With this January 27th release, we commemorate the tragedy of the Holocaust with a story of love and hope. Please welcome author and my dear friend, Leslie Gilbert-Lurie, her mother, a Holocaust survivor, Rita Lurie, and our dear friend and musician, Michael Valerio.
When our Holocaust memoir, Bending Toward the Sun, was published a decade ago, the Holocaust seemed a far distance away. We were no longer living in its immediate shadow. I believed that recounting my mother's story would help to ensure the promise, never again. I did not anticipate how quickly our world would change. Today, autocrats are in power in many countries around the globe. Many of these leaders have emerged from democracies, often borrowing from Hitler's playbook. First, they scapegoat and demonize vulnerable minorities to increase their own popular support. Then they undermine the checks on their power that are essential to preserving human rights. Today, the lessons of the Holocaust are more relevant than ever. We can't take for granted that leaders will automatically protect our human rights. In the United States today, racial injustice and economic inequity loom large, and anti-Semitic incidents are on the rise. As the late civil rights icon and U.S. Congressman John Lewis once said, when you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you have to say something. You have to do something. One thing we can do is get to know people different from ourselves. This helps to break down prejudice and stereotypes and fosters deeper empathy and understanding. The Holocaust was filled with villains, but in the heroes, we see the potential in ourselves. The heroes in the Holocaust were ordinary people, like a farmer, Stashik Groholski, who initially brought scraps of food out to my mother's family in the fields where they were hiding from the Nazis. Then he invited my mother's family to his home for 2 weeks, despite the mortal risk to his own family. And finally, he allowed them to stay for 2 years. Bending Toward the Sun looks at the transmission of trauma from generation to generation. The Holocaust impacted my mother and me and my daughter. But hope also can be transmitted. Ultimately, our story is one of love and hope.
By early 1944, we had been in the attic for more than a year and a half. My brother Nachum, then 5, became very ill with dehydration, malnutrition, and probably lack of stimulation. He lay helplessly in a corner and weakly cried, "Mama." I don't think he had ever been seen by a doctor. One morning I awoke to a lot of commotion. "He can't be dead," my mother stopped, cradling my brother in her arms. "Nachum, wake up, little baby." The adults were crying hysterically. My father was trying to comfort my mother. "Dead, what did that mean?" My brother couldn't be gone. It was incomprehensible to me. As Uncle Max took Nachum's lifeless body out of my mother's trembling arms, I closed my eyes and pretended that what was happening was not real.